And in connection with that, I was going to focus on two things. What we're doing to attract investment in and crowding in investments, as you mentioned, Apollos, and what we're doing to support smallholder farmers to turn their farm into a profitable business. I can see the kind of worried looks at the back of the room, so I'm going to just focus on the first part of that, and then hopefully leave us a bit more time for questions. And they're laughing and smiling now. So, in terms of what we're doing to attract investment into agriculture, and again, if you can cast your minds back to this morning, Nick did actually say what the value of different programming in agribusiness investments is. Can anyone remember 9:24 this morning when he mentioned that? Something around about, roughly speaking, £1 billion worth of programming, excluding our work with CDC, where we're providing concessional finance to programs like AgDevCo, the Global Agricultural Food Security Programme, and then also to grant makers and returnable capital providers like the Africa Enterprise Challenge Fund and the Shell Foundation. So this morning, one of the main issues that came out was the need for more capital at that lower end of the scale, the grant-making, risk-taking capital, and it's there. We may conclude that we need more of it, but there is work taking place at that end. And with all of those investments, we're trying to do three things, really. We're trying to scale up inclusive business models that support poorer farmers, that improve nutrition, and raise climate resilience. We're trying to kickstart innovation and support innovative ideas, and particularly work at the risky end, grants through AECF and the Shell Foundation on trying to do that. And then we're trying to crowd in additional private sector finance, the eternal search for leverage, and bringing capital in, and also creating a pipeline of deals for future investors. Increasingly though, as well as providing the supply of capital, we are doing more on supporting businesses to create the demand side and helping SMEs to develop and to become more investable. The programs that we have, in fact, Alice highlighted this morning, the investor survey found that the lack of investable deals is one of the biggest constraints. And we're actively targeting that in a number of programs, including CASA in particular, which I'm responsible for within DFID. But also in each of our country offices, there are major new programs coming through looking at SME development across sectors, not just agriculture, but in many countries, they're focusing primarily on agriculture. What would we like to see more of? And it's close to Christmas, so there is a long list, but with two things. We'd certainly like to see investors taking more risk. I think Charles mentioned this and others. Investors devoting larger proportions of their portfolio to agriculture and to low-income countries. We heard the statistics in terms of the small volumes of blended finance going into those environments. We'd like to see more of that, and longer-term equity and different forms of capital which require particularly lower levels of collateral, which seems to be one of the major obstacles for local bank lending in particular. We'd also like to explore and see more of the kind of transformative impact that Justin described, where the investments are not just buying impacts on the business, but they're leading to much broader change across a whole sector. And I think that is happening. We can see the clustering of investments that, say, AgDevCo is making. I know in Uganda they're cluster investments around related value chains. CDC's work and their forthcoming strategy where they're going to build off key investments into investment platforms. And I think the other sort of aspect to this sort of broader impact as well is down to donors, and not so donors beyond just DFID and governments, coordinating better the availability of finance and then the grant and the TA money that we're providing to support the pipeline of deals. We do it, it's happening more and more. CDC are doing it with they've got funds for technical assistance and for investment. The Global Agricultural Food Security Programme, which is a massive programme which we support, is combining its two sides that help the government reforms and the private sector investment. So I think we're moving in the right direction, but I would recognise that as a donor community, we need to do a lot more to align our own programmes together internally, as well as externally, so that and also that we're in harmony with national governments. The last thing I would say, I think, and this is one of the big challenges which CASA should help to address, but it's a big gap, is the lack of reliable, rigorous, independent evidence about the pro-poor impact of the concessional finance that we're supporting. So there is lots of data and information about the results we're achieving. The rigorous analysis of evidence, which is beyond my ability, but the sort of experts have identified that our work with DFIs has created jobs and it's raising SME finance. But it's not yet clear, 100% clear, what the pro-poor impact of some of the lending is that we're financing. And I think that this is an area where we need to invest more resources in order to be able to then attract further investment into the sector going forward. Finally, on the enabling environment, I think